So, the new expansion is coming and we're getting new strikes. But what do I want these strikes to be? What do you want? What is it good for? Well, I was thinking about this because, well, strikes haven't been the most popular content ever. Probably more popular than raids, probably, but not good enough for I need to sustain and actually want to focus on this content as a main focus of the game, right? And what do I think this should be? I think what strikes are missing out right now is that they need to be a content that appeals for everyone. And why do I mean by this? I don't mean that it should be so easy that everyone can do it, but I mean that it should appeal to the regular player, the normal player, and the hardcore player. And I think this can be done. But how? How could it be done? How could this magical strike happen that all of people, all of players enjoy in their own way? Well, first let's talk about CMs. EOD strike CMs have been very, very good in my opinion. Because of what? Because they actually appeal to both type of hardcore players. The players that want to do very progression focused gameplay, hitting your head against the wall, against the fight for months, for weeks, for days, for weeks, for months, right? To get the kill of the boss, get the title, get the kill, get the the glory of killing it. But also for people who just want to blast a kind of hard difficulty boss, but still can do it without actually progressing, just bugging it. I do think maybe, and of course, there's a difference between the 4 stars we got. KO CM and Hard Sniper CM are the progression type fights, and Etherblade CM and Anka CM are the, just wanna blast and kill it once a week kind of fights with your static, right? I do think maybe the Etherblade CM and Anka CM might be a bit too difficult to actually carry. Maybe Anka actually, I think Anka is in a good spot. I think maybe Elevate is a bit too difficult, mainly because if one person fucks up, everyone dies. And in a pug, you probably don't want those kind of mechanics. Those kind of mechanics usually you want in only progression fights, otherwise with your guild and your static, right? Otherwise it can be very frustrating to try to kill the boss. So maybe, that one in particular might be a bit, badly designed for that reason. But I think, for example, something like Anka, where it actually is pretty easy to carry people, with the right comp, with the right, with the right people, with the right classes and everything, is actually pretty fun to do. And if you want the actual, of course, hardcore, progression type fight on Anka, you can just try and go for the title, and you'll get a mixture of something like KOCM, like a fight that is as difficult as something, a very big boss that you want to progress with your guild. So it actually, appeals for both type of hardcore players, which is very, very nice, right? But what it misses at, and the new AD strikes do miss is that the normal modes don't really appeal for anyone. They're way too long for, hardcore players who just want to blast and just get their gold and get out. And they're way too easy for them as well, so there's no engagement in it. And at the same time, they're also too long for regular players, but also too hard actually, because the mechanics in those bosses still kinda destroy you if you don't. They're easy mechanics, of course, but you will die to the laser in Etherblade. You will die, you will get one shot, and people will not know how to do this. And of course, as well, you do need a comp, with the quickness and alacrity and the boons in order to actually be able to kill the boss without, And of course, we don't have a range per timer, but if you wait too much time, you probably will. People will start dying. People will start people will start losing, and eventually you'll just flap. You'll just eventually lose to the fight, and you'll have to restart. And because it's a long fight, people are just not gonna want to engage with this, right? And why do I care about the regular player? Well, I do care because, if the regular player doesn't play the fight, why is the reason that Ened should make this content in the first place? Guys, there's not that many hardcore players, in the game. We need regular players to enjoy this content, otherwise we're completely fucked, and there's no way they're gonna actually upscale the operation in order to get more into more instance content, right? So we really, really want the regular player to be happy with what strikes are and actually engage with them. Something like what Icebird Saga did. Icebird Saga, I think, engaged the regular player player very well. You know, you have multiple different types of difficulty inside of them, not because of the actual, you know, easy mode, hard mode, and normal mode, but you do have, you know, the two options in Ice Bull Saga. You have the easy 3, which are very, very easy, and you can blast with anyone. Honestly, you probably don't even need boons, right? And if you want to go a little bit harder, right, with a little bit more preparation and a little bit more, you know, a better comp and people actually knowing what they're doing, you can go for a fast 5. It'll be very fast. People, even hardcore players, like it because it's such a blast. You just go in there and kill everything. And of course, it's a good farm, right? As well, it gives you a lot of gold, so everyone's happy. The new players are happy. The regular players that just don't want to engage with the game too much are happy, and the hardcore players are happy. Of course, the hardcore players would want probably a CM for those things, right? To get, you know, the actual hard fight in the game, but of course maybe a progression fight as well. But at least they gave us that, right? And of course, other games use difficulty settings for this. But I think Ice Bull Saga did it kind of ideally in the way they did it. You know, they have 3 fights that are very easy, and, you know, 2 fights that are still easy, but can be a bit more engaging anyways. Just like something like in WoW, like LFR does. You know, the first bosses in the raid are actually pretty easy, but even in LFR, but as you get to the end, actually the fights kind of become a little bit harder. Now, they can be too much, and actually I would say that Bone Skinner might be way too much for something like LFR, you know, something like easy mode, like as normal mode strikes should be, in my opinion, so it appeals to every regular player. But you know, we're getting there, right? we're getting there. Like, just think about, like, people complain about Raskarth in LFR back in WoW, and that fight definitely wasn't as hard as something like Bone Skinner's. So I think Bone Skinner definitely failed at that, and it would have been way more. It would have been way better for them to actually get a hard mode on that one. But that's a good thing about, you know, EOD strikes, and of course, hopefully, Soda strikes. They will have a CM mode. So ideally, what they should do for Secrets of the Obscure is to have essentially normal strikes, you know, the normal mode, be very, very, very easy, easy 3, Ice Bull Saga type of difficulty. You know, just go in there, you blast it, everyone can do it. And there's no, you know, there's no way you will lose ever, right? And you have the CMs as, you know, very hard fights that are very engaging, and you will wipe, and you have to bring up, you know, you have to know the fight, you have to maybe progress through it a little bit, and of course, maybe some fights are insanely difficult enough so that you don't only don't kill it in the first day, but also not in the first week, and even more with your static. Ideally, of course, you will get more than 2 strikes. That is the biggest problem, you know, with that 2 strikes a year, is that it's just too little to have this variety in content. But I think what they probably should do is just go for the Ice Bull Saga strike approach in normal mode, and the Anka CM type of approach in CM, where this normal CM is actually pretty easy and doable in bugs, but the title is actually a big progression type of fight where you have to stand there for a few weeks, you know, as a normal group. I'm not saying, you know, the best players in the game should stay there for weeks. Even HCCM didn't last for weeks, but of course for most people HCM is gonna take way more than weeks, right? But something along the lines of KOCM and Anka CM, you know, the title run, or HCCM would be the best difficulty setting, in my opinion, for something like the title for the Secrets of the Obscure release. And think that eventually will make it so a lot of people play strikes, and of course one day hopefully we get more than 2 strikes a year, right? Tell me what you think about this, subscribe to the channel, comment down below if you think I'm wrong, debate me on stream every day, every weekday at least, and see you guys around. Love you all, bye bye.